Hey, I'm Ted Santos from Straight Talk. You know me, that talk show that always takes a man's perspective. And as you see in the title, are quotas for women doing damage to companies? A lot of you might be offended by the thought of ending quotas for women in business. However, is being offended as harmful as the damage that's being done to organizations, especially high-tech companies? So if I say this, I'm the misogynist, the caveman. You'll accuse me of being a sexist. What would you say if a woman says it? Some of you will accuse her of internalizing misogyny and being a victim of the patriarchy, and she's a helpless victim. And I've heard many men and women say that. So let's ask, how many of you are familiar with Katie Potts? Does the name Katie Potts ring a bell for any of you? Probably not. Most of you have never heard of Katie Potts. And today will probably be the last time you hear her name, I guess, unless you decide to Google her. So, who is Katie Potts? Money Week, and I'm sure many of you have heard of that magazine, featured Katie Potts back in March of 2017, March 10th to be exact. And they titled the article, "The World's Greatest Investors." This week, they featured Katie Potts. That was March 10th, 2017. Katie Potts studied engineering at Oxford University. I'm sure you've heard of Oxford. It is arguably one of the best universities in the world. And she studied engineering. She graduated and worked at GKN. It's a company in Great Britain. And then left there and went to work for Barring Asset Management. She saw, when she graduated and worked at GKN, she saw manufacturing leaving the Europe. So she worked at an asset management firm, investing money, and went on from there to work at Warburg, SG Warburg, and then eventually left in 1994 and started her own company called Herald Investment Trust. And then in 1998, she started Herald's Worldwide Fund. So her initial 94 fund was investing in companies. So that means she has a firm, an investment firm, where she gets money from institutions or individuals, private, wealthy individuals, and she invests that money. She puts it into companies. Her investment strategy is British and American technology firms. So she's investing in high tech. So this is a savvy woman. Oxford degree, asset management, and she is no slouch. That's why Money Week is featuring her as one of the greatest investors. She manages $560 million. That's over $500 million under management. If you have $100 million under management, you're a contender. $560 million, and this is a woman. So she's what you would call a heavy hitter. So why am I bringing her up? Well, actually today, February 23rd, 2021, Bloomberg Law wrote an article about Katie. And it says, for fund manager Katie Potts, and the name of the article is "Female Fund Manager Opposes Gender Quotas for Board Startups." I will put the link in the description for the article. And the article starts saying, for fund manager Katie Potts, setting mandatory quotas for women on corporate boards of technology startups is a bad idea. Not because she's against diversity, but because she says there just aren't enough suitable candidates. And here are her words. There simply aren't enough experienced women in the sector of suitable caliber to fill a third of the board seats in smaller tech company space, the founder of UK-based Herald Investment Trust PLC said in a company's financial report. She says, and so these small, as I already said, that she invests mostly in these small startups. And she says that there are instances of unsuitable candidates being appointed and doing real damage. So that means women who were, because they had to have this 30% quota of women on boards, 30% of the board had to be women. They just put a body, they had a female there sitting on the board, and she's saying it's done damage. And the article goes on for her to explain why she thinks it's a bad idea and talks about the 30% representation and having that target. And so instead of putting the most qualified person on the board, the board now, the company, instead of it doing its job and meeting its growth targets and being able to innovate new things, they now have to be worried about this compliance of, do we have 30% on our board? And do we have enough women represented in management? And it's doing damage because these women are unqualified. They're getting people in there, which means they're going to have to lower the bar just to get a woman in there. And she's not really qualified. And she ends up doing damage. That impacts the productivity. That means they're literally throwing money out the window and not getting their return. And she, in her global fund, she invests in a lot of companies in the U.S., in North America. And she sees this as a worldwide problem. So there are lots of women out there pounding their chests saying that I have a job and I'm better than a man, when the reality is the bar has been lowered to meet quotas of affirmative action or whatever other quotas for boards. And we are actually hurting the productivity of our nation. So these are not my thoughts. This is Katie Potts having this concern. And in her words, doing real damage. So maybe we're well overdue for reevaluating this idea of having quotas. And if the women don't like it, the one way to rebel is to just start your own companies, whether it's tech or manufacturing or service. Start an all-female company and have an all-female board. You don't need men. You're asking men to run less efficient businesses just to make women feel happy, when in fact many of the women are not qualified to do the job. We live in a global marketplace. We're competing globally. How do you compete if your laws are demanding you put inefficient people in your company, your boards, and your executive, and any other position? And as the article says, it creates a huge distraction. Instead of growing your business and having the most efficient people and building a powerful organization, you now have to take time out to make sure, oh, are we complying? Do we have enough? Well, we only have 20%. Now we have to get 30. So are we doing what's in the best interest of the nation, of the business? And does that allow us to really grow and create more jobs for people who are qualified? How much are these quotas hindering economic growth is what we should be asking. And these are not my words, gentlemen. Katie Potts, managing $560 million. So, love to hear your thoughts about this topic. Like this video, share it. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, click that bell and you'll get a lot more notifications from me. In the meantime, take care. Goodbye.